All right, we're back with Heartland Sports. I have my friend Eric here on the phone. Eric, how you doing?
Doing good today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So, a big controversial topic here we have talking about the Houston Astros cheating. And there's so much to cover with this, so I think we're going to start off with the timeline of events, and I'll turn it over to Eric for opinions, etc., and we'll go back and forth from there. So we have here November 12th, 2019. Mike Fiers, did I pronounce that right, Fiers? Fires. Mike Fires spoke to The Athletic, basically basically saying that the team used the camera in center field to sign steal during the 2017 championship run. Moving on to November 12th, 2019, Alex Cora and Carlos Beltran were named in the report. Alex Cora was the manager of the Red Sox at the time, or not at the time, but when this article came out, he was the manager of the Red Sox, then the New York Mets for Carlos Beltran at the time, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Going to November 14th. The MLB opens investigation into the Astros. So a few days after the report from The Athletic, the MLB opened an investigation about Fire's allegations, and they looked into the video monitors as well as suspicious banging sounds in videos from Minute Maid Park. All right, moving down to January 7th of this year. The Athletic releases a new report on the Red Sox, claiming that Alex Cora, who joined the Red Sox, the manager prior to 28th season, mastermind another cheating season, which in Boston, which is unrelated, like I said, to the Astros, but saying that Alex Cora did come from the Astros was something to look at for sure. And then fast forward to January 13th, 2020. Hopefully I pronounce these right. Hinch and Lunau suspended and fired, and the Astros were penalized. So Astros manager A.J. Hinch and the general manager Jeff Lunau were each fired by the team owner Jim Crane in the sign stealing scandal after the MLB suspended both of them for that 1-year suspension. And then coming up to January 14th, 2020, this is just another look as to Alex Cora with the Red Sox, saying they parted ways with Alex Cora, and he pretty much left then. And going to 2016, once again, 2 days later, the Mets and Beltran parted ways as well. So there's so much to talk about here, not only from that championship one where they did win the World Series, in fact, but I got my friend Eric here to give his opinion, and also me being a Braves fan, him being a Phillies fan, what our thoughts were in players that used to play on our teams that had a role. So Eric, we'll start off with you. Just give me your opinions, etc., any information you want to provide.
So, looking over the roster of players on the Astros who were at one point or another Phillies, there's two of them that stand out. Both of them are pitchers. There's the always forgotten when it comes to Phillies fans, Charlie Morton, and Ken Giles. Ken Giles, of course, was traded to the Astros. He's presently on the Blue Jays. He had an interesting thing. He didn't have a big role. The other one, like I said, Charlie Morton spent like 2 starts in Philly before getting hurt. He had a bigger role, but as a pitcher, both of these guys were pitchers. They didn't really cheat per se. Yes, they did get the rings, but they didn't take part in the trash can banging or anything like that. So as a Phillies fan, our team is clear. We have had no one on the team has said anything about them. No one has come out and denounced the team publicly or anything like that. But when it comes to the Astros as a whole, there's just so many things to talk about. Like you mentioned, Fires basically saying, how it went. So it's crazy to me because you can sign steal after a game. Like you can, if you happen to see, okay, he called for a 2 and then he threw me a curveball, okay, fine. But if you do it the same day, real time, that's where it becomes problematic. And that's what they were doing with the camera that they had in center field. And the footage would be transmitted live into the Astros dugout, which is a huge no-no. That's just a big no. And Fires at least came out and said it, but it was after the fact. And he said after, he released it. He said, quote, "I just wanted the game to be cleaned up a little bit because there are guys who are losing their jobs because they're going in not knowing," end quote. So basically, he has a guilty conscience and he wants to apologize for it. But it's too little too late, in my opinion, because there are plenty of players who had their careers ruined. Now, I know you're the Braves fan here, but I remember watching Freddie Freeman back in January talking about one of his close friends, Chris Medlin, who basically went out with the Diamondbacks in 2018, and he got beat up by the Astros in his one start that season. He got demoted down to the minors, and he has not been on the big league since. He is effectively retired at this point. And you know there are countless other pitchers that have had their careers ended because of this cheating scandal. Now, hitters, a lot of these guys have their stats padded, and it's just crazy to me. I mean, Game 5 of the 2017 World Series should be the biggest red flag of them all. Clayton Kershaw, arguably the best pitcher of our generation right now, was on the mound for the Dodgers. He threw 51 curveballs and sliders combined. Now, I don't know if you've watched Clayton Kershaw pitch, but this guy is amazing. Mm-hmm. And when he throws a slider, you don't know where it's going. You don't know what it is. And of those 51 pitches, 0 of them were swung on and missed. That right there just tells you there's so much movement in a Clayton Kershaw throw, a pitch. Like, how? And you watch the footage after the fact, you hear the bangings and all that stuff. It's crazy to me. Like, did you really think you were going to get away with this whole thing? I think there's just so much to say, but I'm going to pass it over to you, see what your thoughts are on the Kershaw thing, and if you had anything you wanted to add about anything in particular.
I mean, in terms of I was going to say a couple other things, but in terms of the Kershaw thing, obviously the guy's an outstanding pitcher, so how the heck were Dodgers not able to win the World Series in that case? But another thing I wanted to point out was about this whole situation. Obviously, there's been many things where people take it as many people take it as a serious thing, and all these ESPN analysts all over the league are firing back at them and all these quotes and everything. And then there's other people, obviously, that are making jokes out of it. I mean, you being a Philadelphia fan, we've seen the Flyers thing with the banging the trash can with the Houston Astros logo on it. That's pretty funny. But then there's other stuff at the same time. I mean, you're looking at other teams getting upset. The Astros, just look at spring training so far. Whether it's the Nationals hitting the Astros batters or the Astros have been hit way more in the spring training so far than any other team in the league. And obviously there's a reason they're doing it. They're upset and they're frustrated because there was no fairness at all in this aspect.
Yeah, don't forget, too, at spring training games, you have the fans holding up signs, and these are young kids doing it, right, that say, "I had a better sign, but the Astros stole it."
Yep.
And
yep.
I'm seeing those posts all the time, all over social media, and I'm enjoying it. It's just, I'm getting a kick out of it.
Yep. Yeah, it's terrible because to have a young kid, whether he's 10 years old or even if he's teenagers or even a young little kid, seeing something like this happen is something obviously that you don't want to have in his mind, because he's going to grow up thinking, "Oh, all right, I'm going to play dirty. I'm going to play like that. I don't have to necessarily follow all the rules. I can grow up how I want." And especially, you know what's worse? What I'm trying to pull this up right now is, I don't know if you saw, I think it was Alex Bregman was it him or Altuve that put out that comment firing back at him or something. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up right now. It was either Bregman or Altuve that commented something terrible when they was asked about the cheating scandal. He completely denied it or something. I forget which one it was.
Probably Bregman or Cora.
I think it was
Correa. Sorry, Bregman or Correa.
It was one of them, but it's terrible because it's like they said basically that the sum up of that quote was basically that, "Oh, yeah, we cheated, but during the whole season we deserved to win that championship and we earned it." Now that was. I read that quote and I saw it. That was like, that. You gotta be kidding me. That's insanity. Like, yeah. So. You there still, Eric? I can't hear you. All right, we have temporarily lost Eric. See, we'll get him back on the line in just a moment. No worry. So we're still talking about this cheating thing. Obviously, a huge issue, and it's just ridiculous because you never think something like this would happen. And things like this happen. Like they're talking about the Red Sox. We're talking about the Red Sox, obviously with Alex Cora, and then with the Mets and Carlos Beltran. I mean, these things don't always last. Then they still come over. So see if we can get Eric back here. I'm not sure. All right, looks like we got Eric back on the air. Eric, you still there?
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Sorry,
we just had a little signal loss. Sorry, I took out the time with bringing up just how this relates to the other how Cora and them were let go and stuff, even after they moved on from the Astros, and same with Beltran. But what were you saying before, though? Right before you hung up?
Some of these guys shouldn't have their legacies tarnished. Like Justin Verlander is one of the best pitchers of the 2000s, and the man has how many pitchers can say they have an MVP award, AL MVP award?
Right.
Another guy, George Springer. I am biased. I am from Connecticut, but he's a great player. Now, of course, as a hitter, his legacy is going to be tarnished more so. I had a lot of respect for players like Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, but now I don't know if I do, because these guys, they're main players in this whole trash can banging scandal. What's interesting too is you even have guys like David Ortiz coming out and trashing the Astros and the commissioner Manfred and all that stuff. Ortiz called Mike Fiers a snitch for the whole thing.
Yep.
I just, it boggles my mind, because frankly, David Ortiz definitely got away with taking some PEDs, I'm just saying. But it's just, it's crazy to me. Everybody's uniting against the Astros, and you only have one guy who's really kind of saying, hey, listen, why are these guys allowed to get away with it? And it's interesting to me that Manfred, again, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, hasn't decided, hey, let's suspend individual players. All he's doing is saying, all right, this manager is suspended for a year, this general manager is suspended for a year, and they've both been fired, so they're going to be serving their suspensions, and they're probably essentially blacklisted from baseball anyway. But why are no players getting punished? Why isn't Carlos Beltran, who was called out by name, getting suspended? Why is he not getting fined? Well, obviously he's retired now, but why isn't he, suspended for a year too? He was named by name. Why don't we look at these guys and say, hey, Carlos Correa's stats went up by X percentage points. He obviously benefited from this. Suspend him for 50 games or whatever.
Yep.
Yet somebody like Pete Rose is still banned from the Hall of Fame for betting on his own team as a manager. That's just crazy to me. That Shoeless Joe Jackson's banned from the Hall of Fame too for similar reasons. He wrote an X on a contract and had a better World Series, but somebody like Jose Altuve is still allowed to play a full season. I'm curious. One thing I want to say is I'm curious what Jose Altuve's tattoo looks like.
Yeah.
I want to see this so-called bad tattoo. That's obviously, I'm curious. Why are you running around, turning the corner, and going to take your jersey off and saying, "Oh, never mind, can't do it"? I'm really curious. The Correa comes out and says, "Oh, he got a bad tattoo." Really? You could end this whole debate by showing me this bad tattoo, and I'll say, "Oh, okay." So there's obviously no buzzers. Didn't even mention the buzzers yet today.
Right.
That's just, oh yeah, there's no banging in this game. But mysteriously, there's a little thing that looks like a bump on right by his shoulder, and he mysteriously doesn't want to take his jersey off after hitting a home run. I don't know about that.
That's ridiculous, honestly. I mean, obviously, like you said, people all across the league, even in ESPN and stuff, have clearly said that whatever suspension they get, they should serve. I mean, I don't know what your opinion about this one is, but I was looking up a quote that A-Rod released after his suspension, if you remember, about his incident with he was accused of using PEDs back in 2013, where he's
Yeah.
let's see if I can
He
find
was
it.
he was more than accused. He admitted to it eventually.
Right, and basically he said, so this is quote here, I served the longest suspension in MLB history. It cost me well over $5 million, and you know what? I deserve that. And then he says, towards the Astros, they deserve whatever comes their way because of the lack of remorse that they have shown, which is obviously barely any. So, many things to talk about this. Do you have any other comments regarding this whole situation here? I mean, obviously, more stuff can happen down the road.
Well, what's interesting too is it's not just banging trash cans and even the potential buzzers, which hasn't been disproven 100%, but also is kind of more grasping at straws at this point. Back in the ALCS in 2017, the Yankees accused the Astros of whistling to communicate pitches.
Mm.
And then in the 2018 season, the Oakland Athletics accused them of clapping to communicate pitches. First of all, we all clap. If you played baseball when you were younger, you clapped all the time.
Yep.
So I'm not worried about that. But the whistling thing, again, I don't know exactly what's going on. I think that these teams are all just salty. They're all just trying to complain. I think the Dodgers and Dodgers fans are going to be the most upset about this whole thing. They got cheated out of not one but two World Series.
Like, imagine, especially when this year when the Astros play in LA. Like, what do you think it's going to be like?
Oh, they're going to be thrown
that's got to be a
100%.
bench clearing game or something, because
another team that's going to be thrown at them is going to be the Atlanta Braves. Nick Markakis, don't forget, came out and said that it's ridiculous that they're getting away with it. So
that is true.
There's going to be a lot of the Astros. I forget who it was, but somebody literally said straight up, when they go to New York, they're going to need to have their own SWAT team protecting them. Yeah. That is true. New York fans are vicious, and they allegedly cheated the team out of the World Series. Listen, Yankees fans, you guys weren't going to win the World Series that year anyway. Dodgers were better than you. But, they're going to feel like that, and they're going to do the same thing with Boston. I guarantee you're going to see multiple bench-clearing fights this year involving the Astros and Red Sox.
Yep.
Different teams, different times. But the Dodgers, the Yankees, those teams have targets on the Astros and the Red Sox. And it's just insane to me. But this whole cheating scandal is a huge black mark on baseball. I don't know if the sport's going to be able to recover.
Right. All right. I just got one last question before we kind of wrap up this thing. So obviously, like I said earlier, many batters in the preseason, the spring training, as we are in now, have been hit. Now, the question I have for you is, obviously, that's still going to be a big thing. For example, when the Astros play in Los Angeles, or if they play in Boston, who knows what's going to happen there? But or even in when they play in
Atlanta,
yeah, or
New
City
York.
Field, yeah. So the question is that for you is, like analysts predicted, do you think going into the regular season, no matter where they play, it's going to continue being a huge issue with the hitting the batters and the hit by pitch?
There's going to be some teams that are going to do it more than others. Case in point, Yankees, Dodgers. There's going to be some teams that are going to do it just because, hey, we want to stand up for other teams teams like the Athletics, who are division rivals.
Yeah.
And somebody like, I could see somebody like Max Scherzer of the Nationals doing it because, hey, they screwed around. They robbed Clayton Kershaw of the ring. I can see guys like Zach Greinke. Actually, I take that one back because he's on the Astros. But I can see a lot of guys just kind of doing it. Anyone who has a personal beef with the Astros is going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be some personal beefs that are settled this season. It's really interesting because a lot of those guys are spread out now. Like, J.D. Davis is now on the Mets. There's a few guys. Obviously, Carlos Beltran's retired. Marlon Gonzalez he's either still on the Twins or he went somewhere else. These are bigger names too that were involved. So it's really interesting
Right.
to see.
All right. Don't know why, but we must have lost him again. Don't know why that happened. Service just timed out here. But so as you can see, this is definitely something worth talking about. Well, let's see if we can get it back in line. Sorry about that, Eric. I don't know if that was your end or my end. But finish out what you're saying.
There's just going to be guys thrown at each other for pretty much no reason. Anyone who has the slightest connection with the Astros is going to be thrown at.
Yep.
And it's going to be fun. If you don't have the MLB TV package, to anyone watching this video, I highly recommend getting it and watching as many Astros games as you can, or at least having it on in the background, because there's going to be fireworks this year.
All right, so
100%.
that's mostly wrapping up this video. There's so much more we could talk about. We like to kind of keep it short and sweet. So definitely stick around for the following videos, whether they're related to baseball or hockey, or other sports that we cover. Thanks a lot for tuning with me, Eric. Sorry about that. A couple times we had the excuse, the breakups, but that's fine. We will release another video shortly, so hope you enjoyed this one and subscribe.